Alright, we are on section 7-6, percent of change. A percent of change is a ratio that compares the change in quantity to the original amount. So here's our formula that you're going to use. It says percent of change equals, it's the new amount minus the old amount. That is actually the amount of change divided by the original amount. When we read the sentence, you'll see the statement on the next question. The percent of increase is when the number is positive, meaning the answer up here. The percent of decrease is, or percent of decrease when the number is negative. Okay, so if it's negative, it's going to be a decrease. If it's positive, that is obviously an increase. But you're actually going to be able to determine if it's an increase or decrease just by reading the actual statement. So go ahead, hit pause, and copy this down, and then you can play it when you are finished. Alright, in this particular question it says find each percent of change. Round to the nearest whole percent when necessary. State whether percent of change is an increase or decrease. Now remember, back to our formula, it's the new amount minus the old amount. So my new amount is 13. Okay, it went from 10 yards to 13 yards. So it's going to be 13 minus 10 divided by the original amount, which is 10. So when we take this answer and we now subtract it and solve this, 13 minus 10 is a positive 3, and 10, so then 3/10, which equals, and if you would divide this, you would see that you'll get 0.30, which equals 30%. That is my percent of change. Okay, so again, you can write this. In this case, we probably could have done it mentally, saying 3/10, writing it as 3/10 or 0.3, and then moving that decimal point over 2 places to give us that 30%, or multiplying by 100. Now, again, state whether the percent is an increase or decrease. Well, we're going from 10 yards to 13 yards. Is it getting larger? Yes. Therefore, it is an increase. Okay, so your answer is a 30% increase. If you have questions on this, please write it down, and we'll answer it tomorrow. Now I'm going to have you solve this problem. And it's just simply saying the same question that they did earlier, basically saying find the percent of change, and then tell me if it's an increase or decrease. So go ahead and hit pause and solve the problem. Alright, so you're again going to take, when we go back to this, the new amount minus the old. That is the formula you absolutely have to use. New minus old. All over original, which is actually, the original would be the old. Okay, however you want to look at it. So, new is 15. Minus the old, which is 20, which is the original, divided by the original, which is 20. Okay, now when we subtract this, we get a -5 over 20, which equals -1/4, which then, as we've done in our mental math before, where you can divide 1 divided by 4, and you're going to get a -0.25, which equals a -25%. And since it is negative, and as you look at this, we're going from 20 to 15, it does give us a negative, or a decrease amount. So 25% decrease. Okay. Again, questions, please write it down, and we'll discuss tomorrow. I want you now to hit pause and go ahead and solve this particular problem. Alright, last year a sweater sold for $56. This year the same sweater sells for $60. New minus old over original price. So my new price is $60 minus the old, which is 56, divided by the original, which is 56. So now we're going to have to take this number, subtract, and we get 4 over 56. Okay, now you're going to have to divide that, and you can simply take your calculator. I'm going to hit, and you're going to see that you get 0.07. That is the decimal point, which again we are trying to find the percent of change. Therefore we're going to make this into a percent, multiply by 100, or move the decimal over to the right 2 times, and we get 7%. Now the question is this an increase or a decrease? Well, last year it sold for 56. This year the same sweater sells for 60. It did increase by $4. Therefore it is increase. Okay, so 7% increase from last year to this year. Questions, please write them down, and we're going to do the next problem. So go ahead and hit pause and solve this. Alright, it says the first day of school this year. Not sure that's correct. 535 students reported to Howard Middle School. Last year on the first day, 460 students attended. So again, this isn't read correctly. I'm guessing that it should say on the first day. So on the first day of school this year, 435 students reported to Howard Middle School. Last year on the first day, 460 students attended. My new minus the old over original. So my new is, okay, on the first day of school this year, this is where you have to be very careful. This year, 435. That's the new. Okay. Last year, that's the old, 460 students over the original, which was 460. Okay, so now you're going to simply take these two numbers and subtract them, and you'll see you get 25 over 460. And you take your calculator to figure that, which would be 25 divided by 460, and you get 0.05, so 5 hundredths, which equals 5%. And is that an increase or decrease? Well, the answer to that would be that since this is the first day of school this year, 435 reported. Last year was 460. Again, since last year was 460 and we're going to this year, we're going in this direction. Okay, that's the difference. So then you end up with an actual decrease. Okay, so it is a decrease of students because of this would actually be negative 25. My apologies. And this would be negative, and that would be negative as well. Okay. So do pay attention to that. That's going to help you in solving whether that's an increase or decrease. This is a tough one because it is flipping around this in the chronological order. It's actually referring back to last year and starting with the first day of this year. So you do have to read them very, very carefully, and some of you might have made that mistake in solving this originally. If you have any other questions, again, please write them down, and we will see you tomorrow. Have a great evening.